Okay, welcome back to ReZero Anime Review, episode number 20. This is going to be the 34th episode of the series. And you're probably thinking, why in the world is it just two words, one of whom's repeated 5 times? Well, because the name of the episode comes from the 6th chapter of Book 11. This episode adapted from the rest of Chapter 5, the entirety of Chapter 6, and the starting of basically the first chapter of Book 12. The name of the episode is this: Love, 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 Love You. That's the name of the episode. Continuing on from last week, we have Subaru talking to Elena, the Witch of Greed. Basically discussing the fact that, well, it kind of is a different position than it was last week. Like, oh, she's like hugging him, and all of a sudden they're back in the position before. Like, okay. So, basically, she does know that he has the return by death stuff, and he needs to figure out ways to. He mentions about the rabbits from last week's episode, so he needs to figure out how to beat him. So, talk to Witch of Gluttony. And she tries to swap about it because she can't do that because this perfect, all witches are all dead. So, and instead of the Witch of Gluttony, Daphne, it's Typhoon, the Witch of Pride, who's the form of a child, who proceeds to rip apart Subaru. He's a bad person, and still alive, though he can't die. And then Minerva shows up. Minerva, the Witch of Wrath, and proceeds to restore him perfectly fine. And then we have finally Daphne show up, the Witch of Gluttony. And apparently she's in an Iron Maiden. A mobile Iron Maiden with spider legs. Yes, Daphne, of course, looks like she's a bit taller than... She's taller than Typhoon, the Witch of Pride. She's more like a... She also more like a lolly complex to her. Mentioned about... Now, there's three... Now, they mentioned by Elena that the Wyvern, the rabbit that ate Subaru, is one of the three great meta beasts, along with the white whale, the great serpent, and the great rabbit. It's called a rabbit not because of its size, because of the fact it can multiply. And Daphne, he asked Daphne, like, okay, why did you create these creatures, and why you let them run around, how you beat them? As far as I can tell, she only answers one of them. She says, oh yeah, the great rabbit's got one conscience. Just kill that. Done up with. He does mention before she goes that because she's getting tired of talking for a while, he mentions, yeah, I'm going to be all your beast. I've already killed the white whale. The great rabbit's next. She's like, okay. And then Landy comes back. Of course, he asks basically to get the ability to make sure he doesn't forget basically the tea party. So he can come back, though he's waking up because something is waking him up. I will explain that in a minute. So, basically, he mentions that he's the most normal of all the witches he's met. Yeah, he's met officially in this episode. At this point, he's met 4 of them. He meets another one just in a minute. So, wakes up. Like, think it's Elena? No. Amelia, she's disappeared. He goes outside, and the whole area is covered in shadow. And then a mysterious woman comes up. And she sees the same light. She says, I love you, I love you, I love you. Like, what? Like, in case you're wondering, and of course they cut the commercial break, come back. That is how, believe it or not, Book 11 ended with her showing up and then basically doing the same thing again. Who is this woman? The Witch of Envy. Yes, the very same woman who gave Subaru his return by death stuff. And she's about to, like, look like she's about to consume him. And then Garfield shows up and saves him. He's like, you? Why'd you save me for? I think because he felt like it. And we see, like, it's you, isn't it? The Witch of Envy, Sela. And then last thing we see before the episode ends is Roswell been consumed by it. Of course, they had to get back. And of course, oh no. She's going to Roswell's mansion. Gonna go break through the barrier. Garfield can't go through the barrier because he's half. Because he's actually more half beast than her sister is. And yeah, that's how the episode ends. Quite a shocker, to say at least. A giant-sized Witch of Envy going after Roswell's mansion. And apparently it looks like Rem is gone again, along with Otto. It's presumed they were consumed by the shadows. And what happened to Amelia? She disappeared. Yeah, I know she's fine now because I read book 13. The thing with book 12 is book 12 was actually the last book I read before the start of the season. The reason being that was the most recent book released at the time before the season started out last month. Yeah, I read pretty much like at the time. I had already finished the book 9 because I finished reading it as soon as I finished watching season 1. Back, I think it was like June, I think it was. Was it June? I think it was May, I think it was. So basically, all I had to do, because I finished the book 9, because, well, they had most of the first 8 books for the first season of the show. So all I had to do was read 3 books, and that was it, because that was what was released at that point. Book 14, surprisingly, is coming out in 2 months. Yep, book 14 is coming out in 2 months. 13 is the most recent book I read. It's a damn good book. I highly recommend reading it. Yeah, but not much to say about this episode. Fantastic episode. Definitely looking forward next week. It seems as though they're about halfway into chapter 1 with this episode for book 12. And I kind of predicted with this episode they would finish up book 11, which I was sorry about that. Now, excuse me, I kind of assumed with this episode that either would just end it with finish it with chapter 6, or they would start adapting basically book 12, put adapting the first chapter for this episode. That was my two possible theories I had in my head for this week. And turned out I was right. They did finish up adapting book 11. That was indeed true. And either they were going to start adapting the first chapter of book 1 either with episode 35 or this episode. Turns out I was right. It was this episode. That's basically my headcanon when it comes to one. So, this is technically the 9th episode of the season. So, we have probably about 3 to 4 episodes left. And the way it looks right now, it looks like book 12 is going to be as far as this first half of the season goes. Because I think this is going to end just a few weeks. Yeah, because next week's going to be book episode 10. Which would be the 9th, which is next week. 11 is going to be 16. I think it might end by the end of this month. Yeah, I think it's going to... Well, do I think it's going to be 13 episodes? It's possible it might be 13. It'll just depend upon exactly how far that the series is going to take it, basically, for this adapting this particular book. Yep. But yeah, that's it for this particular review, and that's it for videos today. Stay tuned for tomorrow, which, as far as I can tell right now, just got to do One Piece review tomorrow, and if I get a chance to, maybe a Comic Corner, okay? See you next video. Bye.